Economics. We are in chapter 4. We are discussing about the presentation of data. We are dealing with statistics for economics, which is part A in grade 11 economics. So far we have discussed various things about statistics. So we have discussed what is statistics, what is economics in chapter 1. In chapter 2 we spoke about the collection of data. What are the various sources of data, how do you collect it, the modes, methods, everything we have discussed with the pros and cons of each method. And then we went on to discuss about the organization of data. That is, the data collected is termed as raw data. That is, you cannot take out information out of it in a very easy way. Taking out information out of raw data is very tedious. Okay, you will be looking for some information, and how do you draw it from raw data is very difficult. It is also called as unclassified data. And then we moved on to classification of data. We have 4 different classifications, namely the chronologic or temporal classification, spatial classification, quantitative classification, and qualitative classification. And in chapter 3, in the organization of data, we have discussed about frequency distribution. The terms related with frequency distribution, and then we spoke about continuous variables and discrete variables. In presentation of data, what are we discussing? It's the next step of classification of data, organization of data. Once you have classified the data, you have to move on to present it in the right way. Why do we need to present it? For taking it for further analysis. Okay? Yes, of course, you have classified the data, but how will you understand out of it? So for better understanding, for better analysis, we move on to the last step, it's not the last step, it's the next step called the presentation of data. So we have 3 different presentations. Textual presentation, alright? So let's have a small concept map that deals with everything. Okay, we are in chapter 4, which is presentation of data, and we have the textual presentation. Okay, we have the tabular presentation, and thirdly we have the diagrammatic presentation. Alright children, so textual presentation is also called as descriptive presentation. Textual presentation means the data is presented in form of text. Okay, it describes about the data collected and the variables related with the data. And what happens here, when data is very less, you can go with textual presentation. What is the biggest demerit here? You need to read the entire text, whether it can be a paragraph, it can be an essay. You need to read the entire text to understand what is given there in the data and how do you take it further for analysis. That is textual or descriptive type of presentation of data. Next is tabular presentation of data. Tabular presentation of data is considered to be simpler. How do you take it in a simpler way? Because when you see it in the text, it's tedious for you to read it. Okay, read and understand it. Simply reading won't matter there. You need to understand it. So if you just skim the text, it is unbelievable or impossible even I can say for you to understand the text. So what you have to do, you have to go with the next thing, which is called as tabular presentation of data, where you have a table and through the table you present the data. And what are the various parts of a table given there? You have a table number, the title, right? So we have discussed about the table number, the title, then we have spoken about captions or column headings, we have spoken about rows or stubs, then body of the table, okay, the main data, and then we have the unit of measurement, in which unit is given, so unit of measurement should be given, and then we move on to talk about the note. Okay, note is the last point there, and before note we present the source, from where have you obtained this data. Even if you have more than one source, yes, of course you have to give more than one source in the source column. So those are the various things you have discussed in tabular form of data and various parts of a table were discussed. Moving on, we moved on to the diagrammatic presentation of data. In diagrammatic presentation, it is further classified into, okay, we have further classification. Fine. The first one was the geometric diagrams. Then we have frequency diagrams. And then finally we have the arithmetic line graph. Okay? Arithmetic line graph. Children, this is an example for the concept map or mind map of the lesson. Okay, so however I have understood the lesson, I am presenting it in such a way. What you have to do is you should also present the concept map and how it should be. When you talk about the textual presentation, give the definition of textual presentation here, how you have understood. Talking about tabular form of presentation, mention the parts of a table here. Then when you move on to the diagrammatic presentation, you can have the various kinds of diagrams we have. In geometric diagram, we discussed about two. A bar diagram and a pie diagram. Okay, in bar we had simple bar diagram. We had multiple bar diagram. And we have discussed about the component bar diagram. Alright children, then pie diagram. What is a pie diagram? Component bar diagrams, another form is given as pie diagram. So simple bar diagram, only one class of region, one class is mentioned as a category here. Each bar represents a class or a classification. Talking about multiple bar diagrams, it is used for comparing, okay, between two different things that happened in the same year, or talking about the same thing, how it worked in two different years. So it is used especially for comparison. What is used for comparison? The multiple bar diagram is used for comparison of data. Alright, and then we moved on to the component bar diagram. What is a component bar diagram? In the same bar diagram, in the same bar, different components were mentioned. So for example, when you are talking about the total marks obtained by a student, okay, when you have the total marks obtained by a student as 98, each component will mention which was obtained by each. So this marks English, and when you have a different shade or coloring, it marks another subject. Okay, and then when you have another shade or color, usually component bar diagrams will have different shades or colors in the same bar. Okay, it is mentioned as accountancy. So within a particular bar, you have mentioned various components. It is used for what? It is used for talking about how you can differentiate each. Okay, seeing the size, you can decide where you have obtained marks and what is the relation between these different things. So these are not entirely different things, right? Do we have a relation between each other? Yes, these are the marks obtained by the same student. Okay, so for this 19, what are the components of the 19? Here 25, here 27, like that. Fine, we are not going to talk about two different students in one bar. That is a bar diagram, component bar diagram. Talking about pie diagram, what do? We don't usually have the actual data here. We convert the actual data into percentage form. Okay, a pie means it's basically a circular form, and there you represent. So how do you represent the data here? Here you have frequency, or you have a measure. The actual data would have been given in the y-axis. So you can just mark till that particular level. The height of a bar represents the magnitude of the data is what we have discussed already. Right, children? So in a pie diagram, when it is just a circular form, okay, it's simply a circle. How do you mark the actual data here? So you cannot mark the actual data here. here, that is multiplied into 3.6 degree. For what? For getting an angular component, because inside a pi diagram, inside a circle, how are you going to draw your lines? You are going to draw them from the center, okay, as lines from the center to the circumference. Okay, so whatever angle it marks, you are going to mark it in that particular angle and you are going to measure it. That's how you present the pi diagram. Data given for a component bar diagram can be presented as a pi diagram and vice versa. Okay, it is in the form of bar, it is in the form of a pi. That's it. That's the only difference between a bar diagram and a pi diagram. Right, children? So these are the various geometric diagrams that we have discussed. What did we do next? We moved on to talk about a frequency diagram, and it is especially given for a frequency distribution. It is done especially with what kind of data? A frequency type of data, whereas geometric diagram can be done for both frequency or non-frequency, but mostly we go with the non-frequency type of data, whereas frequency type of data you have to use the frequency diagram. And what are the various frequency diagrams we have? We have a frequency polygon. Okay. We have a histogram. Okay. We have a frequency curve. And we have an octave. These four were the kinds of frequency diagrams. So what is it? The first one is actually histogram. What is histogram? These are similar to bar diagrams. But what is the difference here? Bar diagrams are actually equally spaced and equally width. They have space in between each bar, whereas histograms are drawn continuously. They are rectangular bars that are drawn continuously. Okay, they don't have any separation. So even if you get continuous data with a gap, you need to adjust it. You need to adjust the gap in the class interval. We have already discussed how to do it, right? We have to deduct it and add it to the upper class limit, lower class limit, make it. So in the x-axis, what do you mention in an histogram? You give the class limits, and in the y-axis you give the frequency given. Okay, and then what do? You draw continuous rectangular bars, which is mentioned as histograms. And how do you find the median or mode there? If you join, that is the next step, which is also called the frequency polygon. So histogram deals with drawing the rectangular bars, mentioning the frequency measured in a particular class limit. And what is important here? Unlike a bar diagram, in a histogram, the width of a bar is also equally important like a length. Children, understand very clearly, in a bar diagram, the height or length of a rectangular bar mentions the magnitude of data, and it talks entirely about the frequency there. Okay, it does not matter about the width. Yes, of course the width should be there, but it's okay if it is not equal spaced, or the equal size of a width. But when you talk about histogram, yes, of course there is 100% necessity that just how the length is important of a bar, same way the width of a bar is equally important. Why is it equally important? It is because the class limits are equal. When you are talking about equal sized class limits, of course the bar should be equal width. When you have unequal size class interval, then yes, of course you will have unequal width bars, but that has to be matched with the frequency. The height and the width should be matched. Okay, but mostly in an histogram, yes, of course the width is equally important like the length of the rectangular bar. So on the basis of an histogram, we go on to the next frequency diagram, which is called as a frequency polygon. What is a frequency polygon, children? So you have drawn the histogram, right? You have to mark the center point of each bar and connect them with the straight lines. Frequency polygon is like a curve that is bounded by straight lines. Okay, 4 or more straight lines bound them, and each center point is marked. Alright, and in histogram we have discussed already how to find the median, right? So in frequency polygon, you join the midpoints of each rectangular bar and you connect them with straight lines, which is called as frequency polygon. What is the next thing? Frequency curve. It is a smooth freehand curve drawn along or drawn covering all the points of the frequency polygon. Okay, it is drawn near the frequency polygon, but it is not going to touch or intersect the frequency polygon at any point of time. Okay, frequency curve is a freehand curve. Okay, smooth freehand curve, and it is drawn along with the frequency polygon, but it does not intersect through any of the points anywhere in the frequency polygon. Right, children. Finally, we'll give an interesting frequency diagram that we discussed about, talking about the less than cumulative frequency and more than cumulative frequency. So, how did we find it? We had the class intervals. With the class intervals, we had another frequency distribution where we had less than cumulative frequency distribution. Cumulative means what? Adding up totally. So more than frequency distribution. So we had one less than cumulative frequency distribution table and one more than cumulative frequency distribution table. When both the points, when both the curves met, we had a thing called median. And what is one more important thing? Less than ogive is never decreasing, it is always going up, and when more than ogive is never increasing, it is always falling down. Okay, those are the various frequency diagrams that we have discussed. So far, we have completed discussing about the textual presentation, tabular presentation. In tabular presentation, we have discussed geometry and frequency. We are moving on to the last type of presentation of data, that is a diagrammatic. In diagrammatic presentation, we have the arithmetic line graph. What is it, children? The arithmetic line graph, and it is also called as the time series graph. How is it called? The time series graph. How is it called, children? The time series graph. Why? It's going to be mentioning about the time. It's going to use time. Wherever we have a data that is related with time, we are going to use the arithmetic line graph. Yes, in previous chapter even, we discussed a few examples where production of something in particular years were discussed. Okay, the GDP of particular years were discussed. All these things were discussed, right? All this will use the time series graph to be presented. Alright, children, so what are we going to do now? We are going to discuss about the arithmetic line graph. It is a direct thing. Unlike the geometric and frequency diagrams, it does not have any further classification. We are going to talk directly about the arithmetic line graph. Right, children? So this is a concept map, and what do I want? I want you to draw a concept map or a mind map at the end of each chapter. And what is it going to be? It's going to be a map of all the important topics of your understanding. I'm not going to ask you to, refer the internet or somewhere from, and I don't want you to present a copied form. I want it completely personal and individual. Okay, I want you to do your own creative concept drawing there. Alright, I have just given it like that. You can use any different forms. So I have given it like this, like a vertical format, right? So you can put presentation of data here, and then you can draw like three different, from here you can give three different ways. Okay, and each one will talk about one thing. You can put geometry, textual here, tabular here, and diagrammatic here. And from diagrammatic you can further classify it. You from someone. It's on your understanding and what else should be there. What do you mean by that? So when you put textual presentation, what is it? Data presented as text. Enough. Just a line. How you have understood it. Alright? Data presented as text. Tabular column. Data presented as a table. Then you can put parts of the table, title, table number, title, body of the table, the titles alone. Okay? When you talk about diagrammatic presentation, we can just write geometric, frequency, arithmetic. In geometric, again we can divide it into bar and pi. Simple. So each variable is given as a separate bar. Multiple used for comparison. Component. Understanding the relation between the integral parts. Pi diagram. Given in circular form. Okay, then you can put it like an equation, actual value, okay, actual value converted into what? Percentage, and then percentage multiplied into 3.6 degree gives you what? The angular component. You can mention it like that. So the end of the day, when you just go through it, it will be very easy for you to understand what is in the topic. Okay? I want you to do that without fail. And here on from chapter 4, whatever problems are given, I don't want you to do the text questions in your classwork. I want you to do the problems given. In this chapter also we have some problems which you need to present the data. So I want you to work it out in your classwork without fail. Okay children? So I'm going to expect you all to have a concept map for each lesson. And here on, whenever you're going to have a problem, okay, the solution should be in your classwork. You don't even have to, write the question. If it is very long, you don't have to write the question. You can just put the page number in the chapter, question number, fine. Page number and question number for me is fine. But I want you to answer the problems in your classwork. Right children, so we are going to talk about the arithmetic line graph, last step in this chapter. Okay, the arithmetic line graph. It is also called what? Time series graph. It's also termed as what? Time series graph. Why do we call it time series graph? Because in this, whatever time we are mentioning is marked in the x-axis, and the variable, the value of the variable, the value of the variable is marked along with the y-axis. So x-axis is going to be a time frame. Okay. It can be week, day, month, year, anything. Okay, and then next we are going to have y-axis, and it is going to be the value of the variable. It can be anything. If you are talking about production of rice, then the value will be given in y-axis. If you are going to talk about the sales as a businessman or a woman, you want to talk about the sales done by your organization, then you are going to give those values at the y-axis. Fine. So y-axis, value of the variable. Let it be anything. So let us have the sales. Okay. As commerce students talking about sales. Right. So what are we going to have? Months. Let's have months starting from Jan. Okay, Jan, what is the production? Feb, March, okay, April, May, and June. Okay, how it is done in different months and what is the production volume. So let us have 1000 units, then we're going to have 2000 units, then 3000, 4000, and finally we're going to have 5000. So what are these units of production? And these are the months. So usually the time frame is marked in the x-axis. It can be anything, children. We have taken months in the example given in your book. You have years. You can have weeks. Week number 1, week number 2, week number 3. When you are going to present the data about your height change or your weight, when someone's on a diet, they want to measure. Okay, in week 1 what was their weight, week 2 what was their weight, week 3 what was their weight. So they can have it in the arithmetic line graph. When you want to talk about what? When you want to talk about something based on time. Okay, so what is given in the y-axis, x-axis, children? Anything related to time. Day, date, okay, time, week, month, year, anything can be mentioned. And what is given in the y-axis? We have the value of the variable. It differs. So if you are going to take the weight, the diet analysis, the weight analysis. So week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, week 6. Yeah, you're going to have 50 kgs, 60 kgs. Or if you're going to decrease it also, you're going to have 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, whatever weight you wear. Okay, you're going to mark it as a time series graph. Okay, a line graph is joining these period points as uptime is called as arithmetic line graph. So when you are going to draw a line, when you mark the points and when you are going to join all these things, whatever line you are going to get, it is going to be your arithmetic line graph. Okay, or also called as time series graph. It helps in understanding the trend or the periodicity, etc. So it helps in finding trends, okay, or periodicity. How it has changed? What is the change in it? All those things you are going to measure through this particular thing. For example, let us have our own imaginary data. Okay, I'm not going to follow the example given in the book. I'm going to give my own example. So we can have data here as in Jan the production was 1500. Okay, in Feb due to some reason it fell to 500. In March it boomed into 1000, and in April it again came to a level of 1500. Okay, and then when you have May, we'll have somewhere 2000, and June it went on very well, there it went to 3000. So what are we going to do? We want to mark these points. So Jan 1500. First we will just mark it. Okay, and then Feb is going to be 500. So we have fallen down. March again 1000. Okay, April 1500. So we came up. May 2000. We moved up further. In June it became 3000. We went up. So what are we going to do? We're going to start from this. Okay, you're just going to join. What is it called? The arithmetic line graph. That's very simple. You're just going to mark the time frame in the x-axis, the value of the variable in the y-axis, and then you're going to connect the points. You can have a result here. You get an arithmetic line graph. It is good when you're going to compare two different things. So here you have one product. Okay, the first product is the sales of let's say sanitizers. Okay, this is the data about sanitizers. Next you are going to talk about what else? Soaps. Okay, you have two products like soaps. So there the data is different, where it was 2000, then it became 3000, then 1000, okay, 1500, 4000, and it stopped till 4000. So what are we going to have? We are having one more set of data. This is for soaps and these are for sanitizers. So Jan 2000, So we are going to mark it here. Then we are going to have Feb 3000. We are going to mark it here. Then March we have 1000. So again we are going to mark it here. Then April 1500. We are going to mark it here. Then May it was 4000. So we are marking it here. And then June it was again 4000. Marking it here. So what are you going to do? You are going to draw another curve. So it's going to be like this. So if you want both the curves are there, you want to differentiate them, you're going to have it in different shapes, or you can have some designs like this. You can put a square, or it can have a rectangle, you can have a triangle like that. You can just mark a point, and at the end what you have to do? Which curve marks what? Usually we don't write it on the plate like this. We'll have a separate column, a note column like, and we'll mention like in component bar diagram we had mentioned which shade or which coloring measures what, represents what. Same way this also can be represented using a small box which says which is what. So here you can compare easily how it has grown. In Jan how it was, Feb how it was, March how it was, April which was more, which was less, which were equal at both the points. Easy for you to understand. In comparison also you can do. So what are the various things that we need to know about the arithmetic line graph? It is also called as time series graph, and it is especially talking about time series data related with time. We are going to discuss about the time series graph. Right children, and what are we going to mention in x-axis? We are going to have the time frame. Let it be weeks, let it be months, let it be what else? Years. Okay, that is going to be time frame. So when we talk about time, how do you going to have a time frame? So when you are going to talk about someone's pulse rate, okay, doctors what they do, they have a time frame like 10 o'clock. What is the pulse? 12, what is the pulse? Then 1 o'clock, what is the pulse? So like that, when they have a time frame, for that even they can present an arithmetic line graph. Right, children, so it is used in various places where we deal with time, and the x-axis is usually marked with the time frame, whatever it is, month or years or weeks or days or time, hours, anything is marked on the x-axis. Y-axis has the value of the variable, whatever variable, whichever variable it discusses about, that particular value is given in the y-axis. Right children? And then what do we do? It is used to find the trends at present. So it tells you about the trend which is being sold more, the sanitizers or the soaps. So you find the trend. Okay, periodicity, how after which level did people stop getting interested in that particular thing also is given in periodicity. Right children? So this is how you present an arithmetic line graph. You just mark the variables here. Okay, you mark the variables here and you join them with various lines. Okay, same line, and it goes on to give you an arithmetic line graph, which means also has a name, time series graph. Right children, so this is the last diagrammatic presentation of data. With this, chapter number 4 is over. Presentation of data is completed. There are some problems given for you. I want you to complete it in your classwork, and of course have a concept map without fail. And please make sure you have seen all the videos, answer all the worksheets. Worksheet should be presented in the classwork without fail. Jot down notes. After that, if you have any doubts which you cannot understand after watching the videos and answering your worksheets, reading the text, if you have any other videos, of course feel free to reach me out and get your doubts clarified at the earliest. Right children? So what are the various things we have discussed about presentation of data? We spoke about 3 forms of presentation of data: the textual or descriptive, tabular presentation, tabular form of presentation of data. Then we spoke about the diagrammatic presentation of data, textual, where data is presented as a text. Okay, for less data you can use that. Second thing, when you talk about the tabular presentation, we spoke about what are the various parts of a table. Then finally the diagrammatic presentation itself has a various classification mode there. And talking about the classification of diagrammatic presentation, we had geometric diagram, frequency diagram and arithmetic line graph. Geometric diagram is further classified into bar diagram, pie diagram. We have three kinds of bar diagrams: simple bar diagram, multiple bar diagram, component bar diagram. Then the next kind is pie diagram. And pie diagram is also called as pie chart. Talking about frequency diagram, it is used to present grouped frequency distribution type of data. We had a histogram, frequency polygon, frequency curve and O-give. And finally we spoke about the arithmetic line graph, which is also termed as the line series graph. So after understanding all of these, we are going to choose, okay, as economists we are going to choose which type of presentation would be suitable for us. Okay, we are not suggesting any kind of diagram for anything. We are giving you what it is, merits and demerits. So in future, when you are going to conduct some surveys in real and present the same as diagrammatic presentation or textual, however you present it, it is your choice, your wish to present it in a way that you think is easy, is not ambiguous and easily understandable. Easily you can use it for further analysis. So it's your wish to choose the right type of data for you. When I say right type, whatever is good for you may not be good for me. So it differs with each one of us, and your concept map should definitely be individualistic. Please don't copy from anywhere or anybody. I want you to use your creativity to present it as a concept map. Don't forget to solve all the problems given in your classroom. Right, children? And we have completed presentation of data. We'll meet in the next video session with a new chapter, measures of central tendency, where we will actually deal with problems and started out with some